Bava Kamma Daf Mem Aleph begins with a Mishnah which introduces the topic of kaifer, paid by a shar who kills someone, and is the discussion of tam and mud as far as that goes. Gemara will have three sugyas. First of all, how do you have a muad who has killed someone if he should have gotten skila after his first killing? Second sugya is that of the Isra Achila and the Isra Hana on a Shar Niskal, and then the third takes us into the concept of Chatzi Koifer, whether that exists or not. So let's begin the Mishnah. The Mishnah says if a Shar gores a person and kills him, so if the Shar was a Muad, he pays Koifer, and if he was a Tam, he doesn't pay anything, he's putter from Koifer. We'll see later that that is some discussion. Now, that's as far as having to pay kaifer. The second din of a shar that kills is that it's chayv misa, and that applies both to a tam and to a muad. A shar that kills is chayv misa. Now, who did it kill? Doesn't matter if it killed an adult, if it killed a boy, it killed a girl. However, if it killed an eved or an amma, then the owner has to pay a 30 shekel fixed amount, not relevant how much the actual eved was worth on the market, whether it was worth 100 Mana was only worth 1 dinar. Either way, the Torah fixed the cost of the amount at 30 slime. Okay, so now the Gemara begins. The Gemara has one question, which we'll have a long list of answers for. The Gemara says, if a shar tam that kills someone gets skila, he gets brought to the Beis Din, and they paskin that he is guilty of it, and then he gets that skila, how does he ever become a muad? He should be dead before he has a chance to do it three times. So the Gemara has a list of answers here. So the Gemara first quotes Rabbah, who is referring to a situation where he attacked 3 people, but he didn't actually kill them because the person escaped. But our estimation of the incident was that if it would have been up to the shar, if the person hadn't escaped, he would have killed all 3. So we consider that to be an actual killing and would make him a muad that way, but since he didn't actually kill them, he doesn't have to get skila. Now, Rav Ashi says that he doesn't like that because the fact that we estimated that he would have killed him had he not escaped, that's not enough to make an actual muad. He calls it an umdana is nothing. Just because we can estimate that, that doesn't count. So the Gemara therefore says, what are we then referring to? So Rav Ashi says we're referring to where he actually caused 3 people to become sick. He attacked them, and they became sick, and then after he had done all 3, they died. So the attacks were separate, but they died all on the same day, and therefore he was muad already by the time all 3 were done. Now, Rav Zvid says that he killed 3 animals, and that's how he became a muad, not from killing people. Now the Gemara rejects this because being a muad to kill animals does not make a shar a muad to kill people necessarily. So if he were to kill a person following that, he would be a tam and not a muad. So you haven't answered the question. So Rav Simi says that he killed 3 ovdei kichavim, and the Gemara asks, is that true that being a muad for an ovdei kichavim makes a person a muad for Yisrael? And that shouldn't be true either. Somewhere there for Rav Shimon ben Levi, who says that he killed 3 people that were treifus. Now, 3 people who had injuries which prevented them from living out the year. Because such a person is considered halachically to be dead already, the Shar Niskal would not get skila for that. However, it would make him a muad. Simar asks, but then does being a muad for a treifa make one a muad for a shalom? Make one a muad for a healthy person that you're willing to give him misa for this healthy person and say that he's a muad? Also not. So says Rav Papa a different answer, that he killed and he ran away, and he killed and he ran away, and he killed and he ran away. He ran to hide in the swamp, meaning he escaped, and therefore he never got skila. Now, Rav Acha Beit Rav Ika says that what happened was that actually there were zaymimim, that there were witnesses who testified that he killed, and then other witnesses made those first witnesses to be Eidim zaymimim. Therefore, we rejected their testimony. This happened 3 times, and then along came a pair of Eidim that were able to be mazim all 3 zaymimim, all 3 Eidim that were making zaymimim in these 3 cases, restoring us to the original testimony of the original Eidim, which we had considered to be zaymimim at this point. So in one day, they all 3 nigichos, all 3 killings were established, and therefore that's how he becomes a muad. Now, the Gemara Zakasha, now we've seen this sugya earlier. When you have to have 3 gorings in 3 days, is that the animal does the gorings in 3 days, or that the owner finds out about them over the course of 3 days? According to the pshat, the owner has found out about them in order that he should be able to watch his shor stronger, and that he has to know about them in independent days. So here, although the killings may have been on 3 separate days, how does it help? The owner only found out about them when the Mizayme came, and that was all happened on one day for all of them. So the Gemara answers, and the case is that the owner was with the ox at the time that he did all these gorings, and therefore he himself was warned by having seen them, and he can't escape and say, I didn't know I wasn't warned. He was present, and therefore he saw all of them. Okay, now going back to our list of answers, the Gemara answers that Ravina says the way you can have a shar become a muad to killing, even though you kill the shar after it becomes tam. So the reason is because the first few testimonies, they knew whose shar it was that killed, but they didn't know which shar. They knew the owner, but they didn't know the specific shar. And therefore they warned the owner. The owner becomes a muad. His shar become a muad. However, he can't give skila to any shar because you don't know which one it is. So Gemara says, so then if he doesn't know which one it is, how do you expect him to guard it? What's he going to do about that? So Gemara answers, he should guard his entire flock. Any part of his flock which could have been this shar hamud, he should guard that one specially. The Gemara now moves on to discuss the Isser Achila and the Isser Hana of a shar hanesko, a shar which is given the skila because he killed someone. So the pasuk says, three things. First of all, he gets skila. Second of all, his flesh can be eaten. And third, the owner is clean. The owner is naki. The quotes a brisa that says that it says that it gets skila becomes an avela. It's not shechted. It becomes a carcass which is without shchita. So certainly it's usher. It's usher because it's usher to eat because it's an avela. Why does it have to say don't eat its flesh? Lo yachal b'sarei. So the brisa says, because this is teaching me that if somebody were to slaughter it instead of giving it skila, that it has a gemar din. The Vezdin paskins that it's chayav skila, but it doesn't actually get the skila. Somebody jumps and slaughters it first, it still has the iser achila. The iser achila applies even if it actually got a shchita. From the gemar din, the iser achila is on it. Now, the next thing is the iser hana. So it has an iser hana, and that's learned out of bal hasharnaki, that the owner of the ox is clean meaning that he's gone clean out of his property, as Shimon ben Zayma explains, that a person says to his friend, look, that so-and-so went clean of his property, he's all washed away, there's nothing left. And therefore there's no hana, because you can't even sell it for anything. So now the Gemara asks, you're telling me that lo ye'achal es b'sarei is teaching me if you slaughtered it, it's still usher to eat. Maybe there's a different shot. Maybe it's referring to that maybe really if you slaughtered it after, it would be mutter ba'achila, like a regular animal. What are we referring to over here? This one, it says lo yachal b'sarei, is telling me that where it got skila is an iser hana. Because lo yachal, although it's translated usually as do not eat, could also refer to an iser hana. So sakel makes it an avela, that's why it's usher to eat. And then it says lo yachal, saying that there's an iser hana, which because we've seen, Lozer says anytime the Torah says lo ye'achal, or le'seichel, or le'seichlu, it includes both in Isser Achila and in Isser Hana, unless the Torah specifies otherwise, like by Nevela, where it says you're not allowed to eat it, and then it says lager, you could give it to the ger, meaning that you can get Hana out of it, you can sell it to them, you can give it to them. So, therefore, the word Achila could mean Isser Hana. So let's learn Sakal Yisakel, it gets Skila, it's an Nevela, it's Asr Ba'achila, and then lo ye'achal is an Isser Hana. So the Gemara rejects this. The Gemara says the only time you'll use the word achila is in Isser Hana is if you're saying the Isser Achila. If there's Isser Hana there as well, so then the term is Asr to eat it, when you say do not eat it, you'll refer both to the Isser, the fact that it's Asr to eat, and then it's Asr to get Hana. But here you're not saying lo ye'achal, you're not saying it's Asr to eat. You know it's Asr to eat, you're telling me because it's an avela. So lo ye'achal is not needed to teach me that it's Asr to eat. Why don't you just say lo yeheneh? Say straight out that there's an Isser Hana. There's no excuse to couch it in terms of Le'seichel because you're not actually saying Le'seichel at all. Now, the Gemara wants to give another reason that we should be able to learn the halacha, as we said before, that if you shacht it instead of skila, it remains with the Isser Achila. The Gemara says the way you want to read it, Lo Yachal means Isser Hana. Okay, so I'll tell you Lo Yachal is Isser Hana. But then why does it say Es B'sarei? It's meat. What's that for? That's to tell me that even though you turned it into meat, you turned it into a steak on the shelf in the freezer, you shechted it, and you made it just like actually a product of meat, still there's an Isser Achila. So that's teaching me the halacha that we said, that even if you shechted it, the Isser Achila remains. The Gemara has a kasha on this. The Gemara Zitra asks, there should be two types of shchita. This shar is chayiv skila, right? So you could do a skila and a shchita together. You could take a rock, sharpen it so that it's smooth like a knife, throw it at it so that it slits its throat. So maybe that's what the pasuk is talking about. The pasuk is saying that it's possible that it could get skila and it won't be an avela. And it's teaching me that there's Nesar Hana there. How do you know that the same Nesar Hana applies if it gets a real shchita with a knife? Maybe that would be different, and that wouldn't be considered to be a shar niskal at all. So Gemara says, why should it be a difference if it was shechted with a rock or a knife? There is no chashivas to using a knife. The Torah doesn't say shecht with a knife. We have a Mishnah that says somebody who shechts with a sickle, a rock, a reed, a sharp reed, any of these things are kosher shchita. And therefore there's no reason why you should differentiate between the two and say the pasuk is referring to one and not the other. So now the Gemara asks, you said that the Isser Achila and the Isser Hana come from Lo Yochel Es Psaroi. If that's true, so what's the phrase Bal Hashar Naki for? We used that before for the Isser Hana, but now you don't need it for the Isser Hana. So the Gemara answers, it's for the Navit's skin. You may think that when it says Layachal Espari, it's referring only to the basar, only to the actual meat, the flesh of it. How do you know that there's an Isser Hana even to use the skin, to sell the skin or make something out of it? So therefore it has to say Bal Hashar Naki. Now, the Gemara asks, there's a Tana elsewhere, and we'll bring it later, that uses the phrase Baal Sharnaki for something else. So, how would they know this drasha of the Isser on the skin? Maybe the skin should be mutter. So the Gemara answers, because it says es basari. The extra s is to include the skin, something which is tuffle, something which is subservient to the skin, to the basari, which is the skin. Now, the Gemara says, the other Tana, why doesn't he say that drasha? The answer is he doesn't hold of darshaning S and learning things out of it. Now the Gemara brings the classic thing, which we say whenever we say there's a machlokes as to whether or not we should say a drasha on S. You have Shimon Amsuni, some call him Nechemia Amsuni. He used to say a drasha on every S that the Torah has until he got to Es Hashem Lekechatira. That S is including someone who's a level beneath Hashem. So how could it be such a thing? No one's close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu himself. And therefore he said, you know what? I don't darshan any essen in the Torah at all. So the Talmidim said, Rebbe, all the essen which you said drashas on up until now, what's going to be with those drashas? He said, just as I received schar for saying the drasha, I will receive schar for canceling the drasha. This was all true until Rabbi Kiva came and said, I'll tell you, Pshat and Es Hashem Lekechatira, Talmidei Chachamim have a bit of Kvod Shemayim upon them, and therefore that's the Pshat. The Gemara now quotes a Brisa on the topic. Brisa says, when the Torah says, Ubal Hashar Naki, Rabbi Elazar says, he's Naki from having to pay Chatzi Kaifer. This is teaching me that there's no payment of Chatzi Kaifer. If a Tam gores, there's no Kaifer at all. Rabbi Kiva says, what do you need to tell me that for? He himself, if you were to make a payment of Chatzi Kaifer, would pay me Gufay, just like all things that a Tam has to pay. So, how you can make him pay me Gufay if he gets Misa? The Beis Din have to kill him. Becomes Asr Bahana, he has zero value. The Migufay has no value. So what exactly are you going to use it for? So Lazar answers, you think I'm talking about where he got Skila. I am talking about where he was Chayiv Misa, but he never got Skila because it was only an Eid Achad, or because the owner himself saw. And therefore, that's the reason that there's no Isser Hana, and you can discuss whether or not it should be Chatzi Kaifer or not. The Gemara asks, what did Rabbi Elazar mean when he said that the Eid Echad, or the owner themselves, established the fact that the goring happened? If it's the owners themselves, then it's Meid B'Knas. We know Meid B'Knas is Potter. So the answer is he holds Kufra Kapara, that Kaifer is not a Knas. The Gemara brings another Brisa with a similar version of what Rabbi Elazar answered Rabbi Kiva and what he said continuing. So this Brisa says that Rabbi Elazar said, Akiva, you think again that I am Mechayiv him, I'm referring to where he became Mechayiv, Misa, That's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to a situation where he was intending to kill a behema, that is the axe aimed for a behema, and instead he killed a person. Or if he intended to kill a mitzri, instead he killed a yisrael, or he intended to kill nephilim, which are non-viable and therefore will die soon and wouldn't get misa for that. Instead he killed a child who's a bar kayama. So therefore all these are situations in which it is not going to get skila, even though it kills someone, and you could have it give chatzi kofer if it was a tam. So we want to know of these two answers that he said, that he could be pater by moide b'knas, or that he could be pater by being mechavin for one and killing someone else. Which one did he say first? Which is the better answer? So the Gemara quotes two approaches, but either one agrees that miskavin, he said that miskavin is the better answer. So Kana said the name of Rava, he said miskavin first. Rav Tavimi says the name of Rava that he talked about where he killed Moed B'Knas. That's when he said first. Now, what's Machlokes about? Machlokes is, does it make sense for him to say the bigger answer first and then add on smaller answers afterwards? So Rav Kana, name of Rava, said, he said Miskamin first, and that's the bigger answer. And it's like a fisherman. First he fishes out the big fish, because those are the ones that he mainly wants. Now, once he has that, he adds in some small fish that he finds as well. Now, Rav Taviyumi, name of Rava, said no, he wouldn't take big fish and then take small fish. The only reason he took the small fish is because that's what he got first, and he didn't know if he would get big fish. And therefore, when he gets the big fish, he decides he wants those, he gets those in addition to the small fish. And therefore, the bigger answer you say later. And that's why the miskavein is really the answer that he said later than the other one.